ie is the email address, and if you want to write to us, we're at St. Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22. Always do drop us a line there. It's D22 or 7W2, I think is the postcode there. And WhatsApp and a text 089467200, and a phone call to 014-123456. You'll be always very welcome indeed to get in touch with us at any stage, listening back or any which way, to give us a shout out. So very good. Looking forward to the Bishop's pilgrimage to Knock to offer Holy Mass for all who died during the pandemic. That'll be on Sunday the 14th of November next. We do hope we'll join with that and broadcast it at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. It'll be lovely to have all the Bishops of Ireland gathered there to remember all those who selflessly sacrificed so much during the pandemic. It'll be live streamed, of course, as well, and broadcast on the Knock Shrine website, but the RTE News Now digital television channel as well. So we'll tap into that too, as we always do. It won't be anything new for us. We're always engaging with Holy Mass from Knock at 3 o'clock every Sunday. So looking forward to that as well. World Youth Day celebrations 2023 are to be held in Lisbon. So if you want to start booking your flights now and getting organised for that trip to Lisbon in Portugal, a nice short journey for us. Many of us very familiar, of course, with flying to Lisbon and visiting Fatima, or indeed flying to Lisbon and heading further south down to the Algarve, or all these places by way of holidays too. So a very easy journey for us this year because it's on this side of the world. Always a bit more difficult when it's in the Far East or in Latin America. It's a bit of a longer trek or a longer journey, but it's moved around the planet, I think, to the various continents is the idea. And I've been to one or two World Youth Days, a great experience, well worth attending, and just simply seeing the hundreds of thousands of young, in fact, million, I think it was in Cologne that time I was there. Very impressive and great atmosphere, terrific atmosphere. So the Mass with the Holy Father will take place on the August the 6th, 2023, so it'll be in around the month of August. So the 1st to the 6th of August will be the week, and Pope Francis is expected to officially close it. He doesn't book anything till closer to the time, and naturally enough, because of his own health, and who knows what will have happened between now and then. We know that the last couple of years have been trying enough, and the next couple might be challenging in their own ways as well. So the last venue, of course, is Panama City, and Radio Maria in Panama was doing all the radio coverage there locally. So it was nice to be able to connect in a little bit. We didn't do too much, I don't think, connecting in with it at the time, but they certainly extended a kindly invitation for us to come over and join them. And so no doubt Radio Maria Portugal, which has only just begun in Fatima, if you remember. It was the 13th of May. This year we had the Rosary from Fatima, and Radio Maria in Portugal just began broadcasting there from the shrine of Fatima as well. Today, the 13th of October, of course, so many months later, 5 months, commemorating the great miracle of Fatima, the miracle of the sun that surprised, I'm sure, and encouraged many witnesses, about 70,000 witnesses, among them lots of skeptics and atheists too, and yet that great miracle where the sun appeared to fall out of the sky, and where it had been pouring rain, and all of a sudden, as soon as the apparition took place, everything dried up quite miraculously, and a spectacular sight it was to behold, and reported in all the newspapers, and from those who hadn't actually attended the pilgrimage site saw it from a distance and could witness to it objectively as well. But Our Lady promising that miracle to authenticate her messages at Fatima, to pray the Rosary, to pray and do penance, that there would be greater evil to come upon the world. And of course the third secret of Fatima, that of the persecution of the Pope, and it's believed certainly the assassination attempt of Pope St. John Paul II in fulfillment of that. And Pope St. John Paul, as you know, the bullet that there was 5 shots, I think, and one of the bullets that just missed his heart is now in the crown of Our Lady of Fatima, as he made a pilgrimage there afterwards to thank Our Lady for protecting him. As he said, one hand guided the bullet, one hand guided the gun, the assassin, another hand guided the bullet. And Mehmet Ali Akka was the would-be assassin, was a professional hitman, and his remark after the incident was, he said, "I never miss." The fact is he didn't miss, but Pope St. John Paul would give Our Lady the credit for guiding the bullet and preserving his life thereafter. So that's today then the miracle of the sun and all that has unfolded since over 100 years since Our Lady of Fatima. So going to Lisbon, no doubt for World Youth Day there will be many crowding to visit Fatima while they're there. It'll be a lovely moment really for the church and a lovely moment for Fatima too. So it'll be 106 years that year then since the apparition. So it's the 1st to the 6th, so it won't coincide with the 13th of the month, which is when huge numbers of pilgrims come to Fatima from all over the country. In fact, the shrine is full. And if you've ever been to Fatima, you've seen the size of the piazza, is it? Just the esplanade. It's just a huge area, and 1 million people can turn up and fill that space on a good day. Not sure how it's been doing the last couple of years. At any rate, there's a World Youth Day coming up, a nice something to look forward to for our youth. The theme for the event is Mary rose up and went with haste. Our Lady made haste to visit her cousin Elizabeth, recalling that moment after her fiat to the angel Gabriel, annunciation of the coming of Christ. So there'll be lots of things happening online. No doubt there'll be groups travelling from in and around Ireland. It's always a very popular trip as well, and well worth the journey, I must say. And has its own share of challenges. A lot of footwork going on and trying to accommodate huge numbers. And where do you put them all? And how do you cater for them all with food and necessary requirements, accommodation and that as well. So if you know anybody in Lisbon, maybe now's the time to give them a call and see can you get a place to stay for that if it is that you want to go, or in Fatima the same too. So now, very good. What else do I have here? Another little news item. Pope Francis to the Sisters of Charity, your masters in walking the way of charity, he says. He was addressing their 21st General Chapter and thanks them for their great work of charity there. Says Pope Francis has asked the sisters in what way they're participating in the synodal journey. And he noted that these questions that do not have ready-made and packaged answers, although it seems to me the theme of your chapter contains an answer for us as well. He says, to think of the consecrated women as an extension of that female presence that walked with Jesus and with the 12, sharing their mission and making their own particular contribution. And that will be certainly a strong theme, I'm sure, in the synodal pathway, involving the laity in full, men and women certainly, in the growth and future of the church. And in fact, many are already deeply involved in our local church. We met it firsthand when we were in Derry the other day. Lovely to see and meet again. And I say this when I go to parishes, that everywhere we've gone, everywhere we've met people, there just are such wonderful local people of faith who are zealous and keen and glad to be there and coming to pray and to be nourished and strengthened with all their needs and struggles, but loving their church and looking after their church and caring for it. There have been some renovations done in St. Mary's Church there in Cregan and looking very beautiful, and there's ongoing renovations there too with the parochial house. Very impressive, and that to me is a reflection of the faith of the people and their love for their parish and their love for its buildings which represent their presence there. So the Pope was speaking to these sisters about Martha and Mary, and he described them as disciples who had a very important place in the life of Jesus and the 12. Again, like any of us, in your parish community, you seek to be a Martha and a Mary, to be a praying member of your community and an active member of your community in the same way. And he says this confirms that first and foremost as women and as baptized, that is, as disciples of Jesus, that you are a living presence in the church, participating in communion and in mission as well. And in particular, he added, in concern for the poor and listening to the poor, your teachers, he said, and your masters, not with words, but with deeds, with the history of so many of your sisters who have given their lives for this, in solicitude and listening to the elderly, the sick and the marginalized, close to the little ones, to the last, with the tenderness and compassion of God, building up the church, and as it walks its way of Christ, the way of charity. So that's a nice little visit there from the Pope, and some nice words of just endorsement and encouragement of their ministry, and something that we can reflect on and consider ourselves too. So thanks to Aidan there. He prints out these little items of news from the Vatican News website, from Irish Catholic Bishops' website as well, to help us understand and participate in what's going on there in the life of the Church as well. So now we've got a number of magazines in too. I'll just give these a little shout out again by way of just topical and newsworthy items there. Just a big shout out and a thank you. And I've just done a bit of reading of it this morning. A lovely letter from Giuseppina Carelli. If I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Giuseppina, I suppose Josephina, that would be Carelli. She lives in London, and sent me a lovely book there on Our Lady of Kibeho. So I'm anxious to read a little bit more of that and to put it into practice here as well. What Our Lady asked at Kibeho in 1981 when she appeared there was the praying of the Seven Sorrows, the chaplet of the Seven Sorrows. I'm just conscious we need to find a slot for that here on Radio Maria Ireland as well, to include it. She said, I think, especially Tuesdays and Fridays. But Our Lady's remark to the three visionaries there was how the world is growing ever more indifferent. I find the right words there. I think it's in the introduction here. Our Lady's, why we need this, the need for prayer. No, it's not coming. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's it. I want all Christians to meditate on the Seven Sorrows chaplet and pray for the world, which is becoming very rebellious, was the word she used. And if that was ever true, certainly, you see all forms of rebellion against, even within the church and against the church, rebellion against authority, resistance to all kinds of things, and a closing off of minds and hearts to truth, particularly. So this is what Our Lady has suggested, the praying of the Seven Sorrows. So thank you for that, Giuseppina, and I'll just write you a note there to thank you as well. But the Seven Sorrows, perhaps you're familiar with them. 3 of them are Stations of the Cross, isn't it? And 4 of them are sorrowful mysteries, and that's the way to try to remember them. The prophecy of Simeon. So that's a mystery of the Rosary. A sword will pierce your heart. That's the presentation in the temple, mystery of the Rosary. Escaping to Egypt with Jesus and Joseph, the flight into Egypt. Again, that could be considered as part of the joyful mysteries. It's part of a meditation within the joyful mysteries. The loss of Jesus in the temple is the 3rd sorrow of the 7 sorrows, Mary going in search of Jesus. And that's the 5th joyful mystery, of course, there as well. So I think the first 3 would rank in and among the joyful mysteries in one way or another, but each of them would be deep sorrows of Our Lady. So a sword shall pierce your heart. That would be, troublesome news to receive if you knew that there was something on the horizon that was going to affect you that deeply. And then the flight into Egypt, everything is thrown in turmoil. So rather than getting home to Nazareth or back to, her parents and family for support, they have to leave and head off to Egypt, where again a foreign language, foreign country, and all the threats that accompany that. How are they Joseph to find work? and everything that accompanies that sorrow, to be homeless and to be a refugee. And then the loss of the child Jesus. Any mother who's lost a child in a supermarket, or a child's gone missing, you hear these reports that are heart-rending. Sometimes children go missing, and what is to become of them, and the thought of that going through your mind is a deep, deep sorrow. And then the 4 other sorrows that Our Lady of Kibeho recommends we meditate on and pray on: meeting Jesus on the way to Calvary, standing at the foot of the cross on Calvary, receiving the dead body of her son into her arms, and laying the body in the tomb. Those 4 stations of the cross. Deep sorrows and pangs that she accompanied the Lord in a crucifixion of her own, which was not of physical suffering, but one of deep emotional and psychological and interior suffering instead. So it's always fruitful to meditate really on the sorrows and the passion of Jesus, and also of course that of Our Lady in company with her. So it is a lovely prayer, and it is one worth including. And with each with it, there's an opening prayer. An act of contrition is recommended, and after each sorrow a reading and meditation on the Gospel is suggested, and Our Father, 7 Hail Marys, and concluding with Mother of Mercy, remind us each day of the Passion of Christ. So it's a lovely devotion indeed, as I'll have it on my desk there, Giuseppina, to remind me to formally include this and certainly make it available on our website. So thanks very much for sending that to us. And she said that if anybody is interested in finding out a little bit more, there is an email address which we can give you if you want to text us in. And let's see, I've got various references to the kibehosanctuary.com. But those who are publishing this lovely little book and these booklets to help us understand the message, where is it gone, Giuseppina? I have it here anyway, so don't worry, I can give it to you if you want to find out more. There it is. It's all one big long word. Friends of the Mother of the Word @gmail.com. No gaps, no spaces. Friends of the Mother of the Word @gmail.com. So again, if you'd like to trip across these booklets and receive them, and it says all the proceeds go to the Diocese of Kibeho and the Shrine of Kibeho, without anything being kept. So it's a sort of completely non-profit exercise there, just publishing these little books. All proceeds to benefit Kibeho and its diocese in full. Well, perhaps they just take sufficient to pay for the printing and so on. That would be acceptable, certainly. Anyway, thank you for that, Giuseppina. Lovely to get that in the post as well. And great as well for Mission Sunday coming up now to receive the Africa magazine. I'll just give that a shout out and a plug there. Show it on the camera that you can see it. And again, it's something that priests tend to be on the mailing list and they send it through to us. And it's just great to see the mission activity of the church still flourishing. See if I can picture there of 2 African men holding a couple of great big cabbages. Let me open up that page there. That the work that goes on all the time. And it's great that these lovely magazines continue to be published and made available. Where's I'm not sure where this is now, but let me have a read. Zambia it is. There's 2 priests there holding up their great big cabbages. Can I show you that on the camera? It seems we have a camera to show it. Oh, well, you can see that. But the mission work going on abundantly great. Lovely to see smiling faces and the work continuing. So that's the Africa magazine. It's published by the Kiltegan Fathers there, and it was Thomas, I think, had the idea that maybe we should certainly feature these magazines and our editors on. There will be, I think, this Friday, if I'm not mistaken, but certainly it'll be a Friday coming soon, a little feature of the next edition for the Totus Tuus magazine. So Fiona's going to come and join us on air, Fiona Kiley, and talk to us about the next edition of that magazine and some of the articles that you can read. And of course that's provided freely as well. So we had that idea as well. That's been in the offing for a long time, to have a little magazine feature segment, because there's such good publications available too. This came in the post too as well, the Shalom Messenger. I'm stealing Ashling's thunder here really with the post that comes in the door to us. And it's nice to see Shalom Television. They're our good friends, and we've been collaborating together in different ways as well. Shalom World, and doing great work. lovely to see that there. Let me see, I recognise that face in that picture there. And talking about World Youth Day there, very appropriate. And again, just what's happening in the Catholic world of media there through Shalom. Nice to get that too. So we'll come back to that maybe another time. And it came in the post, the Pioneer Total Abstinence Association, very good to send through their little magazine too. So this is just to shout out really for some good sound spiritual reading, and that which will nourish and inform us in relation to our spiritual life and our journey, and to see that there's such good work going on in so many areas of faith and the church. And here again in the back of the Pioneer magazine, a lovely article there about Mission Sunday. So well done to all those editors and all those contributors to the various magazines. It's no small task to be writing articles and to be sharing them. So lots of nourishment there. You know, some people like to have little magazines lying around. Well, why not have some of these good Catholic publications to hand to be able to read over your coffee break or whatever, and grab a little silent moment, turn the radio off for a while maybe, and do a little bit of reading. Spiritual reading is always good too. It allows the soul again to be nourished and formed and directed. So that's a very kind of rapid fire breakdown of the kind of material that comes in the door to us here, and the lovely things to share with you, proving to you and demonstrating to you the vivacity of the church and the activity that continues in spite of all of the challenges that otherwise face us. Because there's a temptation that we can become turned inward in ourselves and having our own pity party, that, you know, nobody's listening to my problems, and look at all the grief that I have going on and all the issues that are I'm struggling with. Whereas this sort of involvement in an outward sense broadens our horizon, takes our attention off ourselves for a little while, and allows us then to see what good work is going on around us, and maybe might well initiate a reaction on our part to get involved in some way. In a sense, you're already quite involved. If you're a listener and supporter of Radio Maria, your sleeves are already rolled up there, praying with us and engaging with us too. But just to see all this healthy activity in the life of the faith of the Church helps us to not pay too much attention to all the naysayers and the negative sources of media which would criticize the Church and say it's old-fashioned, it's had its day, needs to move on, it's irrelevant, it's a thing of the past, offload all that baggage. Nothing of the sort and nothing of the kind, and couldn't be further from the truth. The faith is alive and active and well, and Pope Francis helps to kind of keep that headline in front of us too, in all his journeys and all the peoples he meets, as indeed, as I say, all these great publications and all the media activity that continues in support of the life of the Church. And then if each one of those publications involves any number of people, these things are hard work to produce, we know well ourselves. We're working on our calendar for next year. Ruth might chat about that a bit later. Ruth's going to come on and chat with you about promotion, all things promotion, and I might give that a little shout out. We do hope we'll have that ready in time for next year. It proved very popular and very successful last year, and we do hope to produce a worthy calendar for Radio Maria for your wall at home to inspire you and guide you through the coming year 2022. Good, let's take a little pause maybe for some music. It's always nice to pause like that. Shout out to Mary Ashmore and to Phyllis Flynn, who are connecting in there on Facebook. Thanks for your messages, and thanks for your prayer intentions. Certainly we'll be happy to include your prayers there for your intentions. It's a good way of communicating with us and letting us know as well if you would like to be remembered in that way. So again, 014 123 456 014 123 456. Email info@radiomaria.ie if you'd like to get in touch via email, and send a text and WhatsApp to 089 467 2000. Now for a song break, we'll pause and we'll listen to that lovely melody, which is the Mission theme, very appropriate in relation to Mission Month and Mission Sunday coming up soon. So thanks very much, Jesus, or Shane is looking after that.
Hello, this is Father Sean Kelly, Provincial Minister with the Irish Capuchin Franciscans, and you're listening to Radio Maria, the Catholic voice in Ireland.
Sorry, Father, I need you to turn down your mic feed or whatever on the tablet. You're clipping.
Okay.
So I don't know what it's set at, what percentage is set at.
50.
That's not right, is it? What about your output? Is the output set different?
Output is about 60.
So
will I do it drop down to 40?
I'll take it down a bit, yeah, because it sounds as if it's clipping. So on the YouTube end.
On the output?
On the output, I put them both at 50, just maybe I'll take one down to 40 and that one down. Take them both down a little bit, yeah? No, grand, thank you.
Seconds.
The mission theme there, very familiar and very appropriate for the Mission Sunday that's in it. Thanks to Margaret Mullaney, who was in touch there as well earlier on via our website. And just to encourage you again, I just made a little appeal a little earlier on as well for any financial support that might be possible. We had a bit of a dip last month and struggling a small little bit at the moment. But just putting it out there by way of something small and by way of a standing order, it would be a great help to us just as we move forward. We've certainly grown an awful lot, and these things kind of wax and wane a little bit, and the struggle can be a bit tough at times to make ends meet. We've quite a few hefty bills coming into us for our Sairview channel, for our rent rates, as well as accumulated a bit that was held back on account of the virus pandemic. The council was quite understanding towards businesses holding that back, but it's due now at this stage. Revenue, of course, is at P30, is that an element of it. John was chatting about all these things the other day. There's sort of an accumulation at the moment of just, it's like you get smacked, bowled over with big bills rolling in. So any small amount that a lot of listeners might be able to give, that's always my vision. Please do try and help us out if you can. So thanks indeed to all who do, so very kind and so very grateful and gracious to so many of you who are so good to us. So now, very good, what will I dip into here now for you? I just have in front of me the synodal pathway. We spoke about this there with you last Saturday as well, and trying indeed to encourage you to participate in the synodal life of the Church there. So indeed, by all means, we do encourage you to participate in that conversation with the Church and with the Synod that's looking to 2023. So it means just finding out locally what's happening by way of engaging the conversation. and it's been launched officially, and there'll be certainly opportunity to contribute to that. And my own bishop has written there commending the initiative to us, to our prayers and to our ministry over the coming years as priests with our people too, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and as the bishop says, and took as his own motto, to put fresh heart into the apostles. I like that one. I forget the expression in Irish. I'll look it up and try and remember it again. But instituting fresh heart. And that's really what's needed all the while. That's why I say all these lovely publications point us in the right direction too, of uplifting us and engaging, allowing us to engage in the work of the Church as well. Now, Archbishop Dermot launched, virtually I think it was, his pastoral letter on the cry of the earth. And this I have, oops, look at my camera has disappeared on me here. Fix the camera vision for you. Sorry about that. I'm a poor cameraman. He's launched his document here, The Cry of the Earth. Hold that up for you there. And the cry of the earth, the cry of the poor. So he says it's one of the greatest issues facing humanity, the long-term character of what's involved in the concerns of the climate and loss of biodiversity is a key theme of the pastoral letter, and just inviting us to acknowledge what's happening around us by way of the environmental questions. And it reflects, of course, you have to put the two together on how we treat one another. There's a mutuality about this question always. So he says this issue is a major challenge confronting us, and a defining issue of this generation, and obviously cannot be solved by sound bites or short-term actions, and doesn't admit of easy solutions either. Scientists have been sounding the alarm for some time now, and there seems to be a long way to go to really address this in earnest. And many people have yet to take the enormity of the challenge on board. We've seen the great work, as I say. I've been always a great fan of the reusing and recycling theme, and in primary schools they've been doing it for years, encouraging our young people to recycle and to reuse. And sadly, we still live in a culture that seems to be mindful of built-in obsolescence. I also came across a YouTube video of a chap, and it's very entertaining to watch it from the point of view of just a repairman, that he got all these old devices, electronic devices, and he got 20 of them, and he found that if he could repair them, he might actually get some money back for what he paid on them. And he just taking them apart and seeing there was water damage, there was breakage and whatever. And he found that he was quite able to repair a number of them. They'd been written off as useless. But it seems as if things like mobile phones and that sort of thing, they're only built to last a short time. Now, they do get a lot of wear and tear. But it's just one of those of many issues. Do we throw things out too quickly and not maximize the possible use we can get out of things? That's part of the challenge, again, of appreciating what we have and trying to address it. So he says this crisis has its own layers of difficulties affecting all aspects of life: housing, homelessness, and health, inequality, migration, and the economy, as well as the quality of water and soil and air. All those things, to be mindful of them. And vital, he says, we see the human face of this crisis, that's both in the intermediate and the long-term effect on people, especially on the most vulnerable. And this is where Pope Francis would certainly step into the discussion. And it's good that the document is titled, first of all, The Cry of the Poor, in other words, the needy, and then the cry of the earth. So they go hand in hand, he says, and there's no solution without facing up to our obligations to our brothers and sisters whom the West has left behind, and the inseparable bond between concern for nature, justice for the poor, commitment to society, and interior peace is the true foundation of the way out of this crisis, and is in fact the way to life. Again, the sanctity of the human person is made in the image and likeness of God, and the earth and all its resources is a gift from God. So St. John Paul II is quoted here in his encyclical Redemptor Hominis. He warned us even then that we seem to perceive no other significance of our natural environment, but only those that serve the purposes of immediate use and consumption, which is where, the word of sustainability has come into play. That we be mindful of, again, sustaining and not sort of taking so much as giving back as much as we take. So this short-sighted philosophy that he calls out so clearly, unfortunately then leads to the plunder of the earth, and in so doing then of its poorest inhabitants. Pope Francis echoes it. He says we see squeezing like an orange, we're squeezing the goods of the planet. And it's the poor who suffer first, you see, in all of these, in the way that those who are profiting from the earth are exploiting it. So the service of our vulnerable and marginalized sisters and brothers can no longer be fragmented, failing to address the root causes and the drivers of injustice. So we see again this intimate link between the two. True service must address the poor and must address the situation both globally and locally as well. Pope Francis, referring to water quality, puts what is at issue before us. Our world has a grave social debt toward the poor, who lack access to drinking water because they are denied the right to a life consistent with their inalienable dignity. And it gets to the key thing then as well, really, that the journey of faith is what will animate us on the journey again to sustaining and protecting the environment. Faith is a key element of the conversation as well. So the pastoral is addressed to people of faith, certainly, and it seeks to allow people's faith to nourish and support them in turning towards a more sustainable style of life. Turning towards another way of living merits being called a conversion, as real conversion involves not only a change of practice, but a change of heart, a transformation from within. And so this is the part of the ongoing journey, again, of faith of conversion, mindful of what we consume and mindful of the needs of those who are so much less off than we are. So, in the Gospels then, and in the life of the Church, we begin to discover the meaning of conversion, and that should bring us to a change of mind and a new heart, a fresh heart, which means a fresh approach to the problems at hand. So, for too long, faith has been seen and maybe experienced as perhaps a static given in the life of the faithful. But living faith isn't like that. Living faith inspires and it nourishes. So Archbishop Dermer has put into the text a number of the Psalms, the prayer of God's people, and the prayer of Jesus himself too, as food for our prayer, as its a foundation, and as a school for our prayer. And that's a nice idea, interspersing the material with prayer, and that flowing out of a faith which sees creation as a witness to the love of God. That was St. Paul to the Romans yesterday, that first chapter. Look around, see God's signature there. And to the nature of the Creator, the Psalms then move us away from any form of ideology, but bring us into the God, the Creator, into His transforming embrace. That'll be Psalm 19. The heavens proclaim the glory of God, and the firmament shows forth the work of His hands. Day unto day makes known the blessing, night unto night rejoices. So it's a lovely psalm. It features in the psalms that we pray here, of course. The heavens themselves proclaim the glory of God. The firmament, that would be the sky is the universe, really. It shows forth His work, and the earth around us shows forth His work. No speech, no word, No voice is heard, yet their span extends through all the earth, their words to the utmost bounds of the world. So the created order doesn't speak, there's no voice, but in its very existence, in its very beauty, and in its very nature, it speaks to us. And this is the interesting thing, that Mother Nature is much slower to forgive the destruction and pollution of her environment than God and his nature. And we need to be so mindful of that and so careful to pay attention to that too. So we might return to this conversation again, but it's been launched now as of yesterday there, the Archbishop's letter there here in Dublin, a pastoral letter for the season of creation, the cry of the earth, the cry of the poor, and the urgent call for change. So he concludes there this little statement for the press there: show forth your work to your servants, let your glory shine on their children, let the favour of the Lord be upon us, give success to the work of our hands, give success to the work of our hands. So that's Psalm 90 there, which was the responsorial in last Sunday's Mass. So we pray indeed the Lord to give success for the work of our hands, open our hearts and minds to ongoing conversion, and to see that our care for the earth and the food and the resources that are there so freely given is and ought to be commensurate with our love for the poor and especially our neighbour. Now there's a big statement really, and an ongoing task for greater conversation and sharing as well. So now, thanks very much indeed for joining me here. Sorry about some of the sound quality there on Facebook. We've adjusted that a little bit, and our app was down a little bit earlier on as well, which didn't help things, but thanks to Stephen Foley and Aidan's work there, we're back on track and we're in tune once again, I hope, and everything I hope moderate enough to be able to tune in and listen to as well. So thanks indeed. Thanks to Jesus on the mixing desk looking after me as well today, and learning the ropes there likewise. And thank you. So again, do please feel free to keep in touch with us. 089-467-2000 is the text and WhatsApp number, and info@radiomaria.ie if you'd like to email us there. And the landline is 014-123-456. Now just coming up to 12 o'clock. We'll pause now for our Angelus and our midday prayer.